I remember those conversations. A lot of my friends, they're like, man, you do gymnastics. Like, what is that, man? You're flipping around, like, and honestly, they go, that's for girls, right? Why are you in the sport? So, one of the things for me, I've always, like I said, been more different. I've never been a follower, if you will. I'm okay, setting the trend, or just being a leader, if you will. So, and my parents always instilled that in me.
Hello, everyone. This is Tim Brown, author of the book Uncommon Athletes. And I want to still encourage you all, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe today and like this video so I can continue to have these interviews of encouraging people that will inspire others to success. So today I'm blessed to have with me Kenny Crump. He's a good friend, good family friend. I've known the family for a while. He's the owner and he's the founder and visionary for Gym Skills. And I want to talk to him about him being an uncommon athlete. Now he got involved in this whole gym piece and got him away from football, basketball, and all that, and just being able to do something that others haven't done. So Kenny, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I wanted to jump right in. I know your dad and your family. Dad's a longtime educator in Columbus City schools. Worked. Was a football player actually at Youngstown State, I believe. He also was basketball, longtime baseball coach as well. So how in the world did you get out of these traditional sports and get involved in gymnastics? How did that come about?
Yeah, everyone always asks that. So, it's funny. I started gymnastics when I was 4 years old. So, and the reason I got into the sport was because, so to go back, we grew up in the Linden community in Columbus, Ohio. And we had a rec center right down the street from our house. And my sister and brother, they were going to Linden Recreation Center. And I went to watch a practice one day. My parents took me. I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I really like, how these kids are flipping around. Maybe that'll help me be a ninja one day. Back then being a ninja was cool. So that's what really would spark my interest. So I saw that one day, and my mom and dad asked me if I wanted to go back, and I said, yeah. So I went, they took me to a class, and I wore a karate suit, to be honest. And they're like, what is this kid in a karate suit showing up to a gymnastics class for? So, again, I was thinking karate and ninja, so right. That's what really started my journey, as a gymnast at the age of 4.
Wow. It's been a heck of a journey. It's taken you quite a few places. The sport of gymnastics is a little different, I'm sure. I know you had to be involved, and you went to Columbus City schools, and not having a gymnastic teams there. How did you compete in gymnastics? Were you involved in is it club gymnastics?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so so from the age of 4 to about 10 years old, I went through the city circuit. So the Columbus Rec Parks and Rec. They have gymnastics programs at all the rec centers. So I competed through there and kind of, capped out, or plateaued, if you will. And someone had suggested, to my parents, you may want to get them in club gymnastics, where you can actually go to Junior Olympics and all that stuff. So someone had suggested a gym out in Dublin, which was back then, it seemed like, traveling, 100 miles away,
right,
but we ended up at a gym called Midwest Gymnastics, and believe it or not, it was actually a Black owner who owned the gym. So that in itself, of course, made my parents comfortable, made me really comfortable. And his name's Lewis Robinson. Might as well drop his name. Right. And Lewis was a really good guy. And so I started at Midwest Gymnastics at the age of 10, and just kept going, through the club circuit, Junior Olympics, regionals, states, all that stuff, and did gymnastics all the way through the age of 18. But let me add that, one great thing about seeing a gymnastics gym, and again, as a kid, I've always been really curious and, want to know a little bit about everything. So I would always watch, how Lewis ran his gym. And I never forget, when my parents, being educators, and my mom, she was a secretary / pastor. you know, they didn't make a lot of income compared to, you know, a lot of the kids who were, their parents may have been dentists or, you know, architects and lawyers. So I never forget, Lewis, we sat in a meeting and he said, hey, you know, even if you guys can't afford it, you know, just pay what you can. And I never forgot that. And, you know, I always try to apply that now, you know, in my business. But again, he gave us that opportunity and he let my parents, and I don't know what they were paying, but pretty positive it may not have been what everybody else was. But that meant a lot, you know, to my parents and myself. And that's what kept me in the sport of gymnastics.
Wow, that's powerful. And just seeing him, I know that encourage you, your family, because the one thing I always talk about with young people, you can't be what you don't see.
That's right.
And just that exposure. And that's why we're big on exposure. You know, once we expose kids to something, boy, once they catch it, like you caught it, you say, oh, this is good. You know, I want to do this. But let's talk about when you're going on these different cities and traveling with the group. And I'm sure there's probably some times when you're the only young man of color that was competing at some meets. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, so you know, even going to that gym out in Dublin, you know, I remember walking in the first day, and you know, my dad, you know, being an old school guy, you know, he gave me the speech, you know, keep your guards up, son, you know, and you know, I'm 10, 11 years old. I'm like, what does that mean? You know, so he explained it, and so I always, you know, made sure, you know, people didn't treat me a certain way, because again, even out there, I was the only, it was like me and the gym owner. We were the only people of color, you know, out there. And so competing and traveling around, yeah, I was always the only one. So, you know, gymnastics is an individual sport, which is another reason I really like the sport. Not to say I'm not a team player, because there is a team portion, you know, in the sport, but primarily, you know, you're competing against everyone else. You know, it's not the team. So I never forget, you know, when we would, you know, huddle up and get together, and, you know, I'm like, man, you know, I can't really relate to these kids, you know. So again, one thing that gymnastics was able to do for me was make me comfortable, you know, in all situations, because again, I went to city schools, you know, I'm used to being around, you know, everyone that looks like me, but, you know, you have to adapt, because I knew my purpose was the sport of gymnastics. So it didn't really matter, you know, okay, can I, you know, get along with all these other kids and everything. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge over the years, but it also helped build up my confidence, because I've never, because of that, you know, I've never been afraid to be in certain circles, because I've always been comfortable, you know, being around everybody.
Knowing that, how did you keep focus on your sport? Well, what kept you
So
driving when you wouldn't give up?
I remember those conversations, you know, a lot of my friends, you know, they're like, man, you know, you do gymnastics? Like, what is that, man? You know, you're flipping around, you know, like, and honestly, they go, you know, that's for girls, right? You know, why are you in the sport? So, you know, one of the things for me, I've always, like I said, been more different. You know, I've never been a follower, you know, if you will. You know, I'm okay, you know, setting the trend, or, you know, just being a leader, you know, if you will. So, and my parents always instilled that in me, you know, be yourself, be a leader, don't follow the crowd. So just hearing that and having that support from my parents, it made it easier for me to stay focused on gymnastics. And I knew that they were making a big sacrifice financially, they're sacrificing their time. You know, I mean, we practice 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, you know, 3 or 4 hours a day. You know, even during the week, they may have to take me out up to down to Cincinnati for practices. And, you know, practice was always, it was either in Dublin or Hilliard. So it was a lot, but, you know, because of them, you know, they were able to help me stay focused and just, you know, be the best gymnast that I could be, you know, growing up.
Great. Yeah, you talk a lot about your parents and knowing that they're educators. You shared you had an interesting experience in schools. You know, talk a little bit about that and just how important education is to the Crump family.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so my dad, he graduated college from Youngstown State, you know, with his teaching degree. And like I said, my mom, you know, she was a secretary for Columbus City Schools as well. My dad being a teacher was Columbus City. So education was always really important. So really for me, I was a great student. I would say all the way up until about, 8th grade.
Mm.
And, usually around that age, 13, 14, you start thinking about girls and, you got other things, to distract you. And I never forget, because I have older siblings, and my brother and sister, they went to an alternative school here in Columbus. So it's called Columbus Alternative High School. And it's primarily, it's all academic. They don't have any sports or anything. So I really just took the same path as them. So my parents, in high school, they enrolled me for that school, and I go to Columbus Alternative, and I just wasn't focused. I was kind of clowning around, kind of barely getting by, if you will. But for me, I also add in, it was kind of more so by choice. I know I knew how to study. I know how to get good grades. But I also wanted to be the cool guy, kind of clown in class a little bit, all that. So in the back of my head, I always knew how important education was. So I, would be able to self-educate myself too with certain things. So anyways, I was at COS all the way through the middle of my 11th grade year. So up until winter break, and the craziest thing happens.
Whoa.
I'm headed, and I'm driving at this time. So, winter break, everybody's got their new clothes on, getting ready for the first day back. And I get in my car, and my dad comes out and says, you're not going to COS today. You're going to Mifflin. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And he said, yeah, I took you out of COS. Go to Mifflin. They'll have your schedule for you. You're going there. And I was like, what? Like, what about my friends? You don't have no friends. That's what he said. So I ended up, taking that ride to Mifflin, and they were waiting for me. He had it all planned out. And so the next year and a half, I'm at Mifflin High School. And Mifflin, that's just your traditional, high school. You got sports and all that. Maybe not. It's a different culture, I should say, than COS. So and I must say, when I went to Mifflin, my grades shot up.
Right.
For some reason.
What lessons, as you look back on that experience, what life lessons did you learn from that? What life lessons do you think Dad was trying to, or taught you?
Yeah. So at the time, I was hurt. But looking back, we've had conversations about it now that I'm an adult. But the biggest lesson I learned from it was just really a father's love, for his child, and wanting the best for him. He knew that I was failing, and I was struggling, trying to, keep up. But, he knew it was best. So he pulled me out and helped me get my GPA up, going to a quote unquote easier, school. And yeah, so that was really the greatest lesson. And after that, I actually met some great people, and that you almost look at as mentors, at Mifflin. And it was a good experience, and I thanked him for that. Like I said, at the time I didn't, but now I'm really grateful that he did that.
Awesome. As we transition, looking at that backdrop there, so I'll talk about how the concept of gym skills came about, and what that's all about.
Yeah, so Gym Skills, it actually, we started it in 2004. And again, I'll bring my dad into the equation. He's always been there. So I was 19 at the time, and he actually knew someone at Northeast Recreation Center, and ended up getting, well, I think it's called Howard now. So he ended up getting me a job there. I started my gymnastics coaching career at the rec center, and kind of from there is what sparked the idea to do a mobile gym. And again, the name Gym Skills didn't exist at the time, but one of the parents that I was coaching, she said, "Hey, Coach Kenny, can you come over to my daughter's daycare and teach some gymnastics classes to the kids? They can't all make it over here to the rec center. So can you do that?" And I'm thinking, like, I guess maybe. So I asked the director at the rec center, like, "Hey, can I take some of these mats, throw them in my car, and go over to the school?" And really that's what birthed the mobile gym. I went over to the daycare, did some classes, and they paid me a couple dollars, and then I went to another daycare and asked them like, hey, can I do it? I'll share this too for future entrepreneurs. You can't be afraid to ask for help, and talk to people. I think that's one of the hardest things for people to do is just talk about yourself. So there was a daycare called Mother's Helper, and I never forget. And Miss Moody was the name of the owner there, and she gave us our biggest chance. We had went in there, and she said, "Well, I have 3 locations. Can you teach all 3 locations?" And I'm young, ambitious. I'm like, of course, I could do it. So that was the first time I knew, like, wow, we can get a contract for like doing these classes. So that was it. 2003, 2004 is when the Gym Skills mobile gym started.
Wow. And it's transitioned now to that facility I'm looking at. So how did that come about? How did you go from the mobile to an actual facility?
Yeah, so it definitely took time to get to this point.
Yeah.
But between 2004 to 2008 is where we grew the mobile gym. We got our name out there in the community, and really it was a matter of demand. Parents were asking like, hey, do you have a facility that we can actually go to? And I was no longer doing the rec center at the time, so I ended up partnering with a cheer program. So we leased the space. They had half of the space. We had the other half, put a curtain right through the middle. And that was our first Gym Skills location. In 2008, we opened up a space in Gahanna. And we did that for years. And in 2013, we branched off from that. And we actually opened our first, our solo location right down the street. So it was a couple doors down. We had a 5,000 square foot space, did our thing in there. And then again, years later, 2017 is when we opened this facility we have now, which is a 15,000 square foot facility on about 2.5 acres. So that's where we're at now.
Wow. There's a couple of things I heard in that you shared your story. One was for young entrepreneurs, just the time it takes. They see you now. I always tell people you'll see somebody's glory, but you don't know the story.
That's right. I like that.
But just hearing you asking for a couple mats to throw in your car, going somewhere, and now look at now. But and also I heard a lot in my spirit about how important faith is.
That's
so
right.
You really are stepping out on faith. So can you talk about your foundation in the church and your faith foundation and how that's sustained you and helped you during these times?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I mentioned about my mother, being a pastor. And so, as a kid, I mean, she always instilled in us just the love of God and making sure we put him first and pray about all things, before we do it. So Gym Skills, that's always been a big piece in growing the business is, just trusting, in God, in all my decisions I make and not moving, until he tells me it's time. So, and again, that takes patience, because a lot of times, you want to do what you want to do and, you want things to happen in whatever time you want it to happen. But in business, you'll learn that things aren't going to happen when you want them to happen. So, you have to be patient. Again, if you truly want to grow, you have to have the right people, in place. So, I never forget, growing this business, I was doing a lot of it on my own early on and trying to coach all these classes. And I mentioned my mom. So she was actually a part of the first mobile gyms. She had a minivan and she would drive us around, in that minivan because I didn't have any space in my car to take mats. But, one of the most important things that, she would always say is, just, again, pray about, these people that you're bringing around you and the staff that you're going to have, because they may not have your heart. So the reason we opened the Cincinnati location, and the young lady that opened that location with us, she had my heart, so we opened that one up back in 2013 as a mobile gym, and now it's a nice gym. But again, God has always had a huge place, with Gym Skills, and it's not a thing where we put it out there. I always say I like people to see, God in me, and then, let the light shine. So I don't have to speak about it all the time, but I think people will see it in us.
Yeah, you can tell, and you have that word on there, being a visionary, and God's giving you the vision, and you really have ran with it. I can tell you that. You are really running with it. And that's truly a testimony to your faith, and it's just that foundation, that was built by your family, your parents. But yeah, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to encourage you as you encourage others, and I know you kind of got a big heart. Your facility is always open, for persons, providing those opportunities that children may not otherwise get. So can you tell us a little bit about where you're located at and how a person get in contact with you, and even about the franchise opportunities as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this location here, we're located in Gahanna, Ohio. So the address is 710 Cross Point Road, and our website is gymskills.com. We also have a location in Blue Ash, Ohio, which is in the Cincinnati area. Same website, gymskills.com. And yeah, you can go there, learn a lot about, our gymnastics classes, our tumbling, our cheer, our ninja classes, our fitness. So we do a lot after school, birthday parties, all that. And yeah, just it's a great space for your kids to, it's just an outlet, for them to get moving. It's a safe space. Parents can also, enjoy the space and, at our smoothie bar, or they can go get a workout. And we recently started our franchise company. So, you can open up a Gym Skills in your city. If you're interested, you can reach out to us. Franchising@gymskills.com is the email. And also there's a lot of information on our website. But yeah, we love to, just bring the Gym Skills experience across the country. So we're excited, and that's really where my focus is when it comes to the business now, is just continue to grow and scale.
Well, I appreciate your time. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you.
And purpose encouragement to some young entrepreneurs. And I know you're always willing. I know they can also follow you on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
That's the world of Kenny. Yeah.
Yep. The world of Kenny, and I enjoy mentoring too. So, yes. I know a lot of business owners, may not know, the right steps to take, or future business owners, I should say, or entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do mentoring, consulting, all that. So feel free to reach out, and let me know how I can help.
All right, sounds good. Well, so I want to thank Kenny for being a part of this. And I want to encourage you again to hit the subscribe button and like, and that way you can be able to receive new notifications when a new video is posted. So Kenny, thanks for your time, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Brown. I love what you're doing.
All right. Bless.